anytime free agency is involved, we can have plans, and Kirk knows, how I personally feel about him. He knows how our organization feels about him. I believe Kirk wants to be a Minnesota Viking. I do believe that. I've had some great dialogue with him pretty much weekly throughout the offseason, leading into kind of as we step foot in Indy for the Combine. But there's a process, Mike, that's got to play out. And, I think if for us to, be able to get to the place where we can come to an agreement, have Kirk Cousins as our quarterback moving forward, which is what, I would love to see happen, we're going to have to find that space, that common ground. But ultimately, knowing both parties want the same outcome, I do believe, I feel strongly we're going to be able to get something done.
That's Kevin O'Connell from last Tuesday. I can't believe it's already been a week since we spoke to him and 14 other coaches and general managers at the Scouting Combine. He made it clear to us that he wants Kirk Cousins back.
Big time.
I asked him, 100% unequivocal, you want him back. Yes, and I believe him. I believe him.
Been saying it for 2 years, how much he likes him.
Yes. Now, you can see that full interview, by the way, at the NFL on NBC YouTube page, and you can see it embedded with the post last night that suggests that the Vikings, despite the wishes of Kevin O'Connell, will not be keeping Kirk Cousins. It's not final yet, but the Atlanta Falcons are the team to watch for Kirk Cousins. The indications are there, and maybe it's all part of the broader bluff to get the Vikings to increase their offer. I mean, if you're going to commit to the bit, you do things like, say, go check out schools that your kids will go to, or go find a house that you'll buy if you happen to buy a house within 10 minutes of the team facility, or start talking to, the guy who currently wears your preferred number about getting it. Those are the kinds of things, I'm not saying they've happened here. Those are the kinds of things that would indicate that a potential relocation of the Cousins family is being contemplated. Now, again, it's never done until it's done, and the Vikings could break up and wake up and come out of this fever dream and realize that Kirk Cousins will indeed find better elsewhere, and it could be too late. That was one of the vibes I got when we had Kirk Cousins on the set at the Super Bowl, and Mrs. Cousins was talking to Mrs. Florio, and I had a chance to participate in their conversation for a little bit. She didn't say anything definitive, but one of the vibes I got is, why do we got to wait so long for the Vikings to do what they claim to want to do? At some point, the human beings say, you had your chance. The other one, the ones in Atlanta, by the way, where Cousins' wife grew up and her parents still live, they're coming after us. You're not. You're aloof. You're standoffish. You're daring us to go out and find another offer. Okay, we will. That's the risk you take, and that's where and they got this analytics heavy approach. You still got to remember you're dealing with human beings here.
Yeah.
Even though it is interchangeable parts on a giant football machine that will always keep rolling, you still have to deal with the human beings who are those interchangeable parts. And O'Connell wants him. Somebody else doesn't. Not badly enough. Whether it's Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, whether it's Mark Wilf, whether it's Ziggy Wilf, somebody doesn't want Cousins enough. And Chris, the wheels are in motion for the Falcons to take him.
I don't totally like. I think there's enough there. I mean, they've all come out and said it. Kodefi as well. Like, they've all backed Kirk Cousins, right? I mean, how dare
not the GM? The GM threw that. The GM threw that shade at him last year.
Yeah, but he said
Josh
3
Allen
comments since
Mahomes.
then. He's changed that tune. Oh. He had comments during the year where he was like thrilled about Kirk Cousins and what he did, and that they were going to work to try to get this done. Now, how dare they take time on a 36-year-old quarterback who only has one leg that works right now? Whoa. Right? That's what I would say. I mean, his video on the tennis court, yeah, that's cool. He ain't nowhere near playing football. That might move a third-grade offense the way he looked in that one. It ain't going to move an NFL offense, all right? So let's be real here. Okay, yep, all right. He barely could step into the throw. Ooh, he threw a 12-yard swing route. Whoa. Let's give him $75 million guaranteed right now. I mean, it's not just easy. They're buying a little time. They're figuring a few things out, certainly. I'm sure they're trying to figure out the right number and all that, right? But they've been out there. about we want Russell Wilson. So listen, I understand. What? Go ahead.
Russell Wilson.
What? I mean,
we
want Kirk Cousins.
Russell Wilson.
But
right.
we want Kirk Cousins.
They may get Russell Wilson. They may end up with Russell Wilson.
So like Atlanta, I know. Yeah, it's Kirk Cousins. You don't have to trade for him, so that works out right. Zach Robinson, the OC, he was with O'Connell in the Rams, so he's heard the McVay stories about Kirk Cousins, and I'm sure he's heard stories from coaches in Minnesota already, so I understand that too. But damn it, what I would say just more than anything is that'd be some bold move by both parties to do it. I really would be. Kirk Cousins to leave Minnesota, I mean, it's set up for him as good to maximize his potential. I mean, there's not a better setting than Minnesota for Kirk Cousins in there in football. So that would be the big thing I would say. Atlanta, you're taking a risk. It's a new staff. You got to get to know people. Right? Go ahead. Right.
Well, but let me push back. I still want Kirk Cousins to stay in Minnesota. I have come around. I love him. I love him. I love him. Not right. I love him not. Right. But you go to a division that is far weaker than the NFC North. The NFC North is murderer's row now. You have Kyle Pitts, you have Bijan Robinson, you have Drake London, you have Zach Robinson there, although if you do really well in 2024, you may not have Zach Robinson for your second year with the Falcons.
Right. And these are all questions still. Everybody's still not sure how great Pitts is and Drake London, right? So you're not you don't trade that in for Justin Jefferson, right? I hear you. All of that, right? It's still a bold move, right? As far as, I'm going to go to a team that's 7-10 3 years in a row. I'm going to leave a team that, damn, we were 13-4.
7-10 3 years in a row. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
they just feel like they're 7-10 3 years in a row.
Right, or maybe they were 8-9 last year, whatever. But either way, it was close to that. I'm in the general range. That to me
mediocre. Both teams are mediocre.
Right.
Both teams are mediocre, and the Falcons have a better shot at getting to the playoffs than the Vikings in 2024.
I don't know about that.
Falcons have a better shot.
I don't know about that.
Falcons have a better shot.
I mean, Minnesota was. We talked about
Packers,
Minnesota was going
Lions,
to the playoffs
Bears.
last year. I mean, they were playing good football. If he doesn't get hurt, Justin Jefferson gets hurt. We talked about it all year. They were better last year than they were the year before, right? And so he's set up for success. They have a good pass-protecting O-line. He's got an offensive genius. He has Justin Jefferson, Mario Addison, right? We'll see what happens with KJ Osborne. I believe he's a free agent. Jordan Addison, excuse me, right? You got TJ Hawkinson.
TJ Hawkinson's recovering from a torn ACL.
Right. So,
suffered late in the regular
but I just look at all those things and go, wow, you're going to just leave that, right? And I don't buy it. Here's my bottom line sentence. I don't buy it. I think Kirk Cousins is the ultimate businessman. I remember, right, when he got the contract from Minnesota, right? Wasn't he was being filmed. He's talking to his wife. We got what we want. We got the other team to start bidding on us too. We got him where he knows exactly what he's doing. So I'm not sure I'm buying all of this stuff as of right now. I believe in kind of what you said, that this might be being thrown out there, start looking at some dots or whatever to get Minnesota to maybe raise their price or hasten the process a little bit.
If it's a bit, they're committed to it. If
Yeah.
it's a bit, they're committed to it.
Right.
The problem is sometimes you can become so committed to the ruse that the ruse becomes the reality.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, the Vikings have to decide, what are we going to do here? And I agree with you. Look, 35, going on 36, which is how the aging process usually works, coming off of the torn Achilles tendon. And look,
they're figuring out how they're going to pay Justin Jefferson. This is part of the thing too, right? So it's not just like, oh, here, Kirk Cousins, here you go. Here's a contract. You got one leg, but here, just whatever you want, write a blank check. I mean, so of course they're going to take a little time to figure things out and think about this a little bit.
The Vikings haven't had a sense of urgency. That was what I took away from O'Connell last week. We know what we want to pay. We want him. He's earned the right to bet on himself, right? That's the very positive way of saying, hey, if you can do better, more power to you. This is the most we're going to pay. And I think they want to reserve the right to make a final offer that would match or exceed whatever the Falcons are willing to offer. But Cousins has the right to say, it's too late, baby. You had your chance. That's where the question becomes, is it a ruse or is it real? And again, nothing's done until it's done. We know that. things can change all the time. The Vikings can snap out of it and offer him whatever the Falcons are offering, and he can say yes. Or he can say, I kind of liked that house we looked at. I kind of liked the school that our kids would go to. I kind of like the idea of being within a very reasonable drive, like less than an hour, of where, my wife's parents live and where she grew up. I kind of like that. That the Vikings are giving him the blank check to explore it, and explore it he is. The betting markets have reacted. DraftKings Sportsbook now has the Falcons as the favorite. The Vikings have been the favorite for a long time. The Falcons are now the favorite in negative territory for two different quarterbacks. Safe to say this, Chris, I don't know much, and I prove it every day. I don't think that the Falcons are going to sign both Kirk Cousins and trade for Justin Fields. No. I don't think that's going to happen. It will be one or the other, but they're the favorite right now for both guys.
Yeah.
That's not possible. It is possible. That's where it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we know they're gonna make a play at quarterback. I don't doubt Kirk Cousins at some point in his life is gonna settle down in that Georgia area. I don't. So maybe that happens regardless. And it makes sense for them to like both guys, like we talked about. Kirk Cousins, for Atlanta, it's down to how much are we going to have to pay a quarterback that is not extremely mobile, right? And he's getting up there in age a little bit, and he's dealing with one of the few injuries that we know does change people at that age a little bit, or it has at least. So how much are we going to have to pay for that? And then the other is, how much are we going to have to trade for a quarterback that we know that a team doesn't want him as the quarterback anymore, right? Where I think, again, every day that goes by, Justin Fields' value goes down just a tick. Because it's like, come on, they're drafting Caleb Williams at 1. Let's move on. So I'm sure that's where they're kind of, gauging the temperature of the water on both of those little issues there as well. So I expect something to be done there by Atlanta, and I do expect it to be one of the two. It just, I don't know which one it'll be.
Okay, what do you think the offer ends up being that Cousins takes? What do you think it is? Ballpark.
I think it'll be like something that'll average just a little north of $40 million a year, right? Where maybe it's only.
I think it's gonna be higher.
You think it's gonna be 45 and change, more than that, right?
Yeah, 45 to 50.
Okay. All right. Then how many years do you think it's going to be? One of those where it's like a 4-year deal, but
2.
They can get out with it after 2, something of that nature?
Maybe a 2-year commitment with some stuff on the back end for cap purposes, avoidable years and whatnot. Okay, let's say 45.
Yeah.
Let's say 45 a year.
Okay.
And let's say you threw out the number $75 million guaranteed. Let's say that.
Right.
45 a year with $75 million fully guaranteed at signing, just for conversation purposes.
Yeah.
If you're the Vikings, do you want to invest? And again, this is all analytics driven. Personnel management is the original bastion of analytics in the NFL. How much can I get this guy for? How much can I get that guy for? How much better is the more expensive guy than the cheaper guy? So if you're the Vikings, do you say, okay, $75 million fully guaranteed on a 2-year, $90 million commitment to Kirk Cousins, or 1 year and $1.21 million for a guy who's younger and a guy who isn't coming off of a torn Achilles tendon? What do you do if you're the Vikings? Do you pay that to Kirk, or do you say, you know what, if we just kind of sit back and let nature take its course, we could get Russ, because we're the one place, Chris, that we were starting to talk about this last segment. There's a reason I brought it up.
Right.
If the Vikings lose Kirk Cousins, that's the one place that I think Russell Wilson can look at the depth chart and say, I can trust that I'll be Kevin O'Connell's guy wire to wire in 2024.
I hear you. I hear you there, 100%. I would agree with that thought, right? I think that's a risky proposition for the Minnesota Vikings. I do. They know what they have in Kirk Cousins. They know he really fits the Kevin O'Connell offense, right? And they know he can execute it and play at a very high level. Top 10-ish, top 12-ish in football for sure, right? The last 2 years. There's no doubt about that. Russell Wilson, we can't quite say the same. Let alone Russell Wilson, we just talked about, right, has shown the inability to be surgical and run an offense that way. Kevin O'Connell wants surgical. He wants, listen to me. He told us in our meeting or in our interview last week, right? hey, I change rules and things. I try to expose things. 1 week it's this, and then the same week it's the next week it's the same thing, but I tweak it a little bit, and you got to be smart to be able to roll with those punches and the changes of the rules and things like that. So that's where I don't see that being a systematical fit for Russell Wilson. And that's where if they're offering $40 million right now for a Kirk Cousins, and like you're saying, maybe Kirk is sitting there going, I'd like 45 or 46, right? When I weigh those options, I go, well, shit, I'm going to pay Kirk Cousins $45 million and roll that way and go from there, and we'll reevaluate in 2 years. That would be my 2 cents there, Mike.
Okay, let me throw in one more wild card.
Okay.
We're going to do a draft next of the teams most desperate for, a better quarterback situation. Now, it was a different regime in 2021 in Minnesota, but same ownership, and I'm sure there's still some similar personnel that are still there working for the Vikings. They didn't do, that I can recall, a full overhaul and just fire everybody. In 2021, the Vikings wanted Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And I would suspect one of the reasons the Bears traded up from 20 to 11, I think it was.
Right.
Was it 11?
Right.
Was to get in front of the Vikings, who would have taken Justin Fields
while
they still had Kirk Cousins under contract. What if, and, hey, teams never trade in the division. Well, the Patriots did trade Drew Bledsoe to the Bills in 2000.
The Eagles did trade McNabb to the Washington Redskins.
And they knew what they
were doing.
They call that a Trojan horse.
Take him.
But that's another door number 3 for the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, door number 1. Russell Wilson, door number 2. Justin Fields, door number 3. If the Bears can't unload him anywhere else, and they got to unload him, Justin Fields maybe becomes the Vikings quarterback. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I look at it and go, it's the perfect fit as far as that offense and Justin Fields, but I don't think it's bad. Right? I mean, if it came to this point where, oh, no, we're going to lose Kirk Cousins, I certainly think what I saw Kevin O'Connell do with quarterbacks that are not as talented as Justin Fields, he can make it work. And Justin Fields, right, even though there's still more to be done, and we heard the GM and the head coach of the Bears say this, right, he's shown some ability to be surgical and run the offense. It's not perfect yet. We know that, right? But, it's hard to be surgical and run the offense and do that when you got 3 rockets up your ass and you can run around the corner for 80 yards and a touchdown that way too. So he's still in the process there. Yeah, I could think that they can make that work. Here's the other reason too, Mike, I just want to hit on too. Where did the GM of the Denver Broncos just come from, right?
Well, he came from Minnesota.
Yeah, you don't think anybody in Minnesota has talked to him a few times about Russell Wilson over the last 2 years? So, boom, sorry, Russell Wilson's not on line 1 to go to the Vikings anymore.
Well, but here's the thing, and I'm glad you mentioned George Paton. And George Paton, I like George Paton. I don't know him real well. I don't know how he stays employed after making that trade and given that contract. I'm amazed that he's still with Denver because it's the Parcells in Sean Payton that I think would make him say, dude, what were you thinking?
Well,
why'd you give him that contract? You didn't have to give him that damn contract. I can understand trading for him, but you give him that contract before he even takes a snap? Are you kidding me? So
it's a hard one.
George Paton, let me say this though.
Yeah.
It could be that George Paton still sees something in Russell Wilson that they haven't brought out yet. Now, and maybe that's the kind of thing when he's having a drink with somebody at Prime 47 late at night last week, they're having the real conversation about what went wrong with Russell Wilson. It could just be, if you could just do this, if you could just do that, if he just gets this, if he just gets that, it could still be good. I think George Paton has a vested interest. And this is where it's weird. Sean Payton, deep down, would like to see Russell Wilson go somewhere else and fail to validate his decision to move on. I think deep down, George Paton would probably like him to go somewhere else and do well. So someone like you or me says, well, now we see why he traded for Russell Wilson.
I hear you.
Now we see what's there. So it's one of those weird, conflicting emotions that 2 different people in the same organization have. So I'm not going to say right out of hand that the Vikings would not be in the Russell Wilson business because I think George Paton would sell them the glass half full side of it. Here's why. George, why did you think what did you see in him and he'll explain it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's changed his mind about it.
No,
So
I hear you. All I would say is they're just going to go, damn, it's 2 coaches in a row and it failed, right? But here's where I'll defend George Paton to your point, too. Hey, listen, none of us saw this coming, right? We didn't see this coming. So, a little bit like where, it's a little unlucky for George Paton. I mean, come on, none of us saw Russell Wilson falling apart like this, right? And I don't think the other thing, I think where context matters in this situation, right, is a little bit of they were boxed into a corner. We're getting a quarterback. Nathaniel Hackett's our new head coach. We're getting Aaron Rodgers, right? And plan B is Russell Wilson. So he was kind of backed into that corner as well. And that's where I'll give, George Paton the benefit of the doubt. 1, none of us saw this happen.
All the more reason not to give him that contract. All the more reason not to give him that contract.
That I can fault him for.
He was 2 years away.
Right.
2 years away from his contract expiring. Every one of his prior contracts, he had gotten a new deal with 1 year left. They had no reason to do it. Unless behind the scenes, Russell Wilson and his agent were clamoring.
Well, and how that
talk
works.
About what we talk about what a good business person Kirk Cousins has been. Russell Wilson's been pretty damn good, too. He got the Broncos to give him that contract before they saw him play a single game.
Yeah, well, again, it's a tough one, too, right? We talk about that all the time, too. So you trade for a high-end player, you make that work, get the contract done now. Don't wait till they become a free agent, and now they go, oh, you traded all this stuff for me, and now you're going to let me test the market, and now I'm really going to screw you over and make you pay high-end market price? So, again, they kind of did the things that we see usually done with those situations. I think it's a little bit, second guessing or whatever to question it a little. It was a tough situation is all I'm saying. Your points are real, but I think a lot of mine are too. All right, see you later.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.